Hey everybody, welcome to this Board Game Life episode number 58 titled What the AI? This is the show about gaming, board gaming, tabletop gaming, card games, board games. I can't think of any other ones, but there's lots of them that fall into that space. I am one of your fine hosts for today. I am Rob, and with me as always I got my good buddy Mark.
Hey Rob, how you doing this fine, wet, icky, cold, rainy day? At least where I'm at.
Yeah, it's not it's cold. It's not really icky. That was last 4 days. And rainy was last 4 days. So yeah, I'm doing good, doing good. Looking forward to covering some of the stuff on this show over here.
So I got a question. I'm gonna
Yeah,
throw one at you because I always think of
throw
this when you
it.
do your introduction, and I never have
Hmm.
asked you. So you're like, where we talk about board games and tabletop games, and like, what's the difference? Aren't they the same thing?
Um, Sorta, yes, no, not really. So at least in my mind, right? That's a very good question. A very good question. So
Well, yeah, I'm
tabletop,
not. Yeah,
yeah.
it's. I've seen people refer to the board gaming scene like differently, so that's why I ask.
Hmm.
And I know you've mentioned a couple different types of gaming, so that's why I ask.
Sure. So, technically, if if one wants to kind of like look at the minutia of the descriptions and meanings and stuff like that, right? A board game technically is a board game. It has a board, right? A card game is technically not a board game, but we do kind of lump it into the same thing, like Dominion, Ascension, um, uh, Point Salad. Just it's like those are technically card games, whereas tabletop games is like an all-encompassing things. So that's like games that you play on a tabletop, which technically in my mind includes board games, maybe even role-playing games, card games, miniatures games, all that stuff. So when I said that, I was just kind of trying to include everything because we do talk a lot about different things.
Yep.
On this show, I don't think we've talked about appliances yet or
No,
towels,
no,
but we can at
no,
some
we
point.
can't.
Not today.
No,
Not
we
today.
can't.
Okay. But yeah, that was that. That was all.
All right.
But yeah. So what have you been playing lately?
I it's been actually slow the last couple weeks.
Hmm.
I did get in Zombicide, a game of Zombicide a couple weeks ago.
The OG
Um,
original, or
second edition.
but I mean like regular Zombicide versus one of the many flavors of it.
Oh yeah, it's just Zombicide, the
Okay.
second edition. So, um, and Gloomhaven, and excuse me.
You're all
And then
choked
I
up
got a
about it.
what's that?
You're all choked up about Gloomhaven.
Yeah, continuing through there. It's getting to be a little bit more entertaining as I'm getting leveled up and getting more abilities and stuff. So I am enjoying it. It's getting better.
How far
Um,
along are you? Just curious.
I think we're
10, 15
I
scenarios,
was gonna say
campaigns,
about
whatever.
12. I was gonna say about
12.
12. So
Okay.
yeah, somewhere around there.
So more than 10% of the way through.
Yeah. So
Nice.
we're chugging along. We're on a break though because a couple people are. One of the guys is on vacation this week, and then someone else is going to be gone to Japan for 2 weeks, and so we won't be getting back together till next month. But
Oh, wow.
um, yeah, we'll get there. We'll keep her going. I picked up a game. It's just a little trivia game. I remember it being at they. I think they brought it out at Gen Con this year. It was called Everything Ever, and here it's sitting here. I didn't buy it there, but I picked it up the other day. It says it's the party game you've been preparing for your whole life. Um, so I picked that up the other day, and it's a good. It's a good I think it goes up to like 10 people. I don't even know. Maybe you can go more than that. I'm trying to see if they have a limit of players. Oh, it says 2 to 10, but it's like a trivia game, sort of. But it's like they'll ask the cards will say questions like say one thing. Let's see. So you got like these cards on the table. So you put these two cards out on the table, and one will say, let me pull a card out here. Just I can't read the back of the box; it's too small. So like one card will say, "Oops, that's the allow it cards." Every college or university, and then the other one says every song with the word day in it. So basically, you go around the table and you have to say either name a college or university or a song with the word day in it. And you just kind of, you answer one from each. Or if you're able to say something between the two cards that like the same answer would work for both cards, then you get to remove a like a penalty token that you will get when you um if you end up like not being able to come up with an answer, then you basically take a penalty, and then you can get remove those later on if you have that opportunity to two cards come up and you can say one word that would answer both, and it can happen. um so simple game. It's not like
Yeah. Mhm.
it's not something like a typical trivia where it's like your knowledge of something. It's they're kind of just everyday questions, just things that
Okay.
you know you can name a lot of colleges, just sit there and go around the table if you can't think of any more type of thing. So but so it's a real easy game for anyone to play. So that's kind of, I think, the draw to it.
Sure.
um got in some more Qwixx, some more point salad, some more just one, and Hive Mind. All are kind of some party games that I've played with some family members recently. And then I went to my had my Monday night game group, and I got to play one that I've been wanting to play for a while, and I really liked it. It's called Seven Wonders Architects,
Okay. Yeah.
and really enjoyed that. That was a really fun game, um, and actually won the second game.
Nice.
And it was interesting because the second game we played, so the first game, there was the guy next to my left was basically just building, like just kept attacking, going to war with everybody, and it was like I wasn't focused on that, even though the I guess it's not a character. The thing I was building was this soldier or whatever, so you get bonuses of like soldiers once you start to build your whatever you're building. I was building like a statue of a soldier, I guess. But so the second game, I'm like, I started to make sure that I could get some people and had soldiers built. I only had one tile flipped. Have you played the game? So do you know what I'm referring to when I'm talking about tiles and flipping them?
So I haven't played this particular Seven Wonders one now.
So everybody gets like these puzzle pieces. They're all different. One was like the shape of a pyramid. Another one I had like was like a statue of a soldier. Someone else might have like a clock tower, or there's these different architectural things that you're basically kind of building. So you put all your pieces out in the shape of whatever you're building. So I had I think five pieces, like basically five puzzle pieces, and you flip them over to the
Yeah.
side that shows that it's like you see scaffolding, right? So it's like it's being built. And then you have cards in between. You set your deck of cards to your left. And then what happens is as you go around the table, everyone picks one card. And to flip a tile piece, you might have to have two or three or four cards that are either a match or they don't match. So it's like four separate cards. One's a brick, one's a papyrus, one's a straw, one's bundle of sticks or something, right? So you're
Hmm.
trying to draw cards either to your left or to your right, um, that are available to you, or you can draw blindly from the center draw deck. And if you can get, so I had like two cards that matched, and so I was able to flip over my lowest tile piece. And you're going from top to bottom, so you have to build your architecture, your design from the bottom up. So, like if you have the pyramid, you have to build the base before you can move up, right? So you have to match or get whatever requires to flip that tile piece over to the built side. And then as you're doing your structure, you will gain bonuses. Some have bonuses, some don't. Like the pyramid didn't, but it had higher point values. It was worth more points than other people's. Um, so like me, there was two tiles I could flip that gave me a permanent soldier, to when someone would go to war. I always had at least those two, plus any soldier cards that I had. And then you get points like when you go to war. If you have more troops than the person to your left and to your right, then you get a token, like a 3 point victory token for each battle that you win. So I ended up like only flipping the one tile at the bottom, just one of my bottom tiles. And then the rest, I won the game just simply because I had won so many battles. Because I was like, this guy's not getting me again.
Yeah.
And he got nothing. He lost every single battle the second game. But I ended up winning the game, and just by all the victory tokens. And then I had got another bonus of, if like there's these green cards, if you did two of the same or three different green cards, you can turn them in for like these bonus tokens that are like how you can kind of get an engine building. In some things it'll start to build. But what I grabbed was the, because I was doing so good on the war and I was getting a bunch of these tokens. One came up that you get an extra point for every victory token that you had. So at the end of the game, I had 10 total victory tokens, which was 30 points. And then I got another bonus one for each. So I had like 40 points just in the war tokens.
Hmm.
So it was like, yeah, and I ended up I think with 51 total. So, but yeah, it was like kind of crazy that I was like, because I'm like, yeah, I'm gaining these, but I'm not building, and you're trying to build. So there's a lot of different ways to win in the game. It was very simple to understand, very quick to play, and I liked it. There's just like really no waiting around, um, because once you go, the player next to you is just deciding which card they want to take, one of the two that they see face up, or one from the draw deck that they don't see it.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's an option like there's this one. There are cards that are blue that are just victory points, so you can just take those. And then one of them has like a cat on it. So there's this cat token that moves around the board. So whenever you play it and you have the cat on it, then you get the cat token, and that means you get to peek and look at the top card in the draw deck. And whoever has the cat can always see what card is there and decide whether to draw it or not. So it's nice to have that, but it's like I got it on my second game. I got it, and I was like, sweet, I got it back. Well, then the next guy in turn immediately took it back. I was like, well, that lasted long, so I didn't even get to use it. But so there's
Yeah.
the different things like that in the game, and it's it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah. I wonder if you'd also like the original Seven Wonders, which is it's kind of like a pure card game, drafting game. Really well received. It won tons of awards, and it got the Kennerspiel Spiel des Jahres award in 2011. It was like the first year that they had that, and it's the Seven Wonders games are all pretty good. They're all definitely pretty good. What architects? There's a duel.
Yeah, I'll
I
have
think
to
there's
see
a
what the
yeah.
others are, but I really did like that
Mhm.
Architects game.
Yeah. Antoine
Pretty much to
Bauza.
the point I'll probably pick it up tomorrow when I'm at my game store gaming group
Nice.
because I know they carry them there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very cool. That was it.
That's what I've
Okay.
played. Yep.
Yeah. So I did a little bit of gaming, and I did want to report. I know after we talked about Dorf Romantic, I mentioned that I had the Steam version. So I actually put a bunch of time into the Steam version. It's a very, very relaxed, chill game. And it goes along the lines of the board game, where like you unlock things the further you go and, give a little more complexity to the game. And then you have the same stuff like in the board game where, you have these like, I don't know if you would call them achievements or quests, but you try to build like a train tracks of a certain amount of tiles, right? Is that how it
Okay.
goes with the board game, right? It's like you have to achieve certain
The
things by building certain ways.
yes, yes.
So it definitely has that stuff, and like I said, it's really like relaxing. The only thing I would comment about it, and granted, I had a lot of stuff. I was playing it while I was sort of working, so whenever I had like a couple of minutes of downtime, I had it up on one of my monitors,
Nice.
and
I'm
then
playing while I'm working.
yeah, it's like just on the side, like whenever I had a little bit of a break, I'm waiting for something or whatever. And it was interesting, but man, does it just go on and on and on and on. It got to the point of where it's like, okay, you have to place 40 more tiles. Then I look again. You have to place 55 more tiles. How is it going up? I want it to go down. I want this game to end. But it is it does have that same feel definitely of the board game, and I've got to say they did a great job with the board game adaptation. Granted, the video game is super well suited for a board game. I almost wonder if they had a board game in mind and then they said, well, let's make a video game of it just because it would be easier, and then they came out with the board game after the success of the video game. But I'd say it's still worth checking out. If you like Dorf Romantic, the board game, you'll probably enjoy the version that's out on Steam. Okay, with that aside, I did get some Thunder Road Vendetta time in, and
Nice.
so it was a two-player game that I played, which is a lot different than the four-player game that we played together down in Indy.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because I know when we played the four-player game, there was a lot of action, right? Because you had a lot of cars. They were all in close quarters. Potentially, somebody gets, blasted off in a particular direction. They might hit somebody, and then it cascades, right? Just boom, 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 one into another. And there's definitely less of that within the two-player game. However, it really seemed to turn into like, I'm going to come after you with my helicopter. You're going to come after me. I'm going to come after you with my helicopter. You're going to come after me. It was just a lot of back and forth. And the guy that I played with, which we both know, he really loves screwage games where you're
Huh.
like mean and messing with the other person, taking them out and stuff. So I figured he'd be a great candidate for this game, and well, and he was. And it the one thing that I've got to say about this game, and this is where I kind of wonder, like, you play a game and you go about it with certain strategies that are in the spirit of the game. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you play the game how it's supposed to be played.
Right.
I can see because I saw this in this game. I can see how this can go a different way with some people where they throw the I'm playing the game for the sake of having fun and playing a game out the window, and they go straight into I'm going to take you down at all costs. It can definitely go in that direction. Well, apparently, sometimes when you do that, you get your ass kicked, get your butt kicked. so,
Yeah.
so yeah, we had it was actually interesting. We had this area which was kind of a choke point on one of the boards where there was a bunch of hazards everywhere around there, and then I want to say it was like I forget what like the rock things are called. Can't not canyons, but boulders, whatever. There's a bunch of like the rocks on either side. And so my opponent got in there, and then I attacked him with a helicopter. He bounced around in there, and his last car went boom into the rocks. But maybe that's what you get for no longer playing the game in the spirit of the game.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, the spirit of the game is, I mean, to take no one can well, in a two-player you have to take the other guy out.
yeah,
Like even in the four-player, like it's a race, but not until somebody is removed. Then it becomes
yeah,
a race, right?
yeah,
So yeah, so in a two-player, yeah, you
yeah.
you have to take someone out. I mean, that's really the spirit of the game. So
But still, it's not at all costs. It's not like just going. Well, I guess.
now
Yeah,
if
what?
they're trying to run their little car speedily and hold you up on that last tile that drops off, I guess that's a valid
No.
move too, right?
Yeah, no. This was more like I'm just coming after you with everything I've got. Strategy out the window. Just strategy out the window. Just attack full force. Every option going after the same
Okay.
going after the same vehicles, and it's like, okay, all right. And I was trying to take my small, so there's a small, medium, and large vehicle. I was trying to take the small vehicle and make a run for the border,
Yeah.
but
I can vouch that
yeah,
doesn't work.
yeah. I wound up taking him out with, so the helicopter became instrumental
Yeah.
in this whole thing. So, but yeah, you can have some pretty interesting little scenarios where you really box somebody in. It's like if they're in like a narrow area, um, you put your helicopter in there right behind them to box them
Yeah.
in, and then go after them, and then out of what, six directions, I think. Yeah, I think it's six directions. They can have only one way out. So it's like
Yeah.
if they get jettisoned in a particular direction, you know, they only have, what is that, like 16%, 17%, whatever chance of actually making it.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I actually had that once, and I did roll properly and I got out of there. It's like,
Nice.
holy smokes. I was lucky. But yeah, so that was a good time. And I definitely can see the appeal of having the Chrome version with all those extras and stuff. And it'd be cool to have a group that plays it
Yeah, it definitely it's
consistently.
a lot of fun if you can get the you got to have the right people to play that, because
Yeah.
it is a lot of fun, and it's kind of cool like when you like the groups different groups I've played with, um like when we were in Indy, and I think it was, well, I think all of us were doing it. It was like, oh, your car, it does a flip, or it's flying through the air, and we're like taking the vehicles and going, shoo, making the noises and rolling them over the cars, and
I
just
was not that
having
childish.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to, it's like that Fast and Furious type of action going in the game, and
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. It's just it's a lot of fun to do that.
Hmm.
So Yeah, that's a
So
really great game.
yeah, but I could also see some people having a problem with it because there's a lot of people they don't like what I'll call in air quotes mean games. You know, they
Yeah,
don't yeah, they don't like to come after other people, at least directly.
it's definitely not a game. Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
a nice player, because even when we were playing, Brun kept hitting me, and he wasn't like he was trying to. It was just kind of the result of his
yeah,
actions, or something would make him um, smash into me or something. And so we're joking about it. I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
you Ohio drivers, and
yeah,
finally I was like, I come back at him, and he's like, what are you doing? I said, well, you hit me twice. I'm like, you know, but there are, and that was like with last night with the Seven Wonders Architects. It's like, I didn't really, I was just like focusing on the first round, was like, okay, let's learn the game, let's build this thing. And I wasn't really worried about focused or wanting to attack anybody. But it's part of the game. So the second
right,
time around, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna just sit here and get annihilated. And because that guy did the same thing. Like, he basically won. He had more points in his combat than I had in my entire game. The first round. And it's just like, okay, I'm not gonna let him just pick at me like that. I'm gonna be on the defensive here to
yeah,
defend and always make sure I've got more troops than the people on each side. But that does slow you down from building.
oh
So,
yeah,
you know, um, but yeah, and then and it's funny because on the other side of him was this lady that was there, and her and I were like both like being kind of passive, right? The first time.
sure,
After that, we both did the same thing. Like, she had almost as many victory points from combat as I did, um, and he had nothing. We kept beating him every war, every combat type scenario. So yeah, you've got to yeah, Thunder Road Vendetta is definitely one that you got to be willing to go in and just slam people and destroy them, and you know, it's
yeah,
fun. It's so much fun.
hmm
I need to play
yeah,
that again.
yeah. Great game, a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I sometimes wonder, like, how different is it from the original? Because I think what the original came out somewhere in the 80s
yeah. It's a
along the lines.
what it
Yeah, restor. I think it's Restoration
restoration
Games.
games.
Yeah, so
Yes, it is. Yeah,
they take the old games, they tweak them so they're more appealing to modern gamers,
yeah.
and they did a great job, especially with like the little cars and all that stuff. Well, very well done. Okay, then the last thing I want to mention is I finally broke out Castles of Burgundy Special Edition and got that to the table. And I've talked about Castles of Burgundy a whole bunch of times over the last couple of episodes. Going to do it again. Not really going to talk a whole lot about the game because the game is the game. Great game, one of my favorite games of all time. And I'm just going to talk about some of the components and stuff now that I've actually gotten to use them in a game. So I've got, oh man, I forgot the name of the edition, but it included the full base game and then it had one box of acrylic tiles, which is all of the hexagonal pieces that go into your duchies and the ones that are placed throughout the board and all the different rounds. And the duchy is your personal board. And so in the game box, you have, I think, all pretty much just cardboard pieces of everything. So when you get that acrylic box, you replace um, all those hexes. So I took all the regular cardboard hexes, I punched them, and I put them in the acrylic pieces box, and then I put the acrylic pieces in the main box. I do really like using the acrylic pieces, but I'm starting to wonder if I might just put those aside and go back to the regular cardboard pieces because there's a number of different types of hexagonal tiles. Um, There's caves, castles, there's ships, buildings. Um, oh man,
Like farms and pastures
far
and
yeah, the pastures, and then what was it? Cathedrals, the yellow ones. I forgot what they're called, but the yellow ones have they're kind of like power ups. So they either give you like four pieces I mean, sorry, 4 victory points per market that you might have, which is a building type in the game. Or they'll do certain things like, get an extra something whenever you do this action. So when you place them in your duchy, your personal map, you activate it and then you benefit from those. Now, the problem with the game is that there's a lot of different actions. There's like 30 some different yellow tiles, different ones, and it's hard to remember what's what. So when you look at the acrylic tiles, you're like, what the heck is that? And then you got to look it up there's these cheat sheets or you look it up in the rule book. But the cardboard hex tiles, they have the yellow tiles description written on the back of them. And I really like that. So it's like if you're wondering what the heck is that one over there? What is tile number 14? You can just flip it over, look at the back of it, and it explains it in a couple words. So that is just really handy. I really like that. And then some of the tiles, I mean, the acrylic tiles, they feel great. I love them. They're very clinky. They got some weight to them. But also on some of those, especially like the yellow tiles, it's like it's one of those if you have this building and it shows like a small picture of the building, then you get some benefit. You look at the building and you're like, I don't know what building this is. Just because it's small, not necessarily because I'm old and I have poor eyesight, but it's just that, it's like it's printed small and it's, the resolution of the printing. So love the game, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but I played just the base game. Did not play the expansion that it comes with the vineyards or whatever it's called. Um, but I love the game. The jury's not out on. It's still. If I play it one or two more times, I might just trial the cardboard ones, and then I might just I don't know pull the acrylic tiles out, which shocks me because I would have assumed that I would have loved the acrylic tiles. But if I guess if the printing on them was a little sharper and if they had the writing on the back, maybe that would have been a lot better. But still, wonderful game. It comes at a big price, but I still think it's totally worth it.
yeah.
Love it. Um, and it's a huge pain in the butt to get in the box. I do have
Oh,
to.
yes, it is.
Yeah, I remember I watched a couple of YouTube videos that were specifically on organizing the stuff in the box. I wish more companies would just, they would show you like some kind of diagrams. It's like it doesn't even need to be full color printed. Do
No, it
like a
doesn't.
photocopy or something, or just have like a link to a website that has a PDF.
Yeah.
or, and just help us sit there because I feel like if I see a region in a tray, I'm like, that's there for a purpose. What's the purpose? I don't want to guess and do my own version of Tetris trying to get everything in the box. I'd rather put it where it belongs. And granted, sometimes it's easy because it's totally obvious where the stuff goes. But yeah, anyway, love the game. Uh, highly recommend it. And yeah, I know that it's out for sale. If you want to get it, highly recommend it. All right, so Essen, the the big game fair was last week, I think, maybe the week before, I don't remember. But it was this month in Germany, and there was a whole boatload of games that got released there. Granted, a lot of them we saw at Gen Con already, and I went through the list um, over some time and kind of basically chose the games that are really interesting to me, and I thought I'd share some of these. The games that are really interesting to me, and I put a couple of restrictions on this. So number one, the restriction that I always put on is it's got to be a minimum of a two-player game. I usually do not like to get 3+ games, or I definitely don't get 4+ games. Uh, I'll get a game if it's solo or 1+, but at least two people does not require a third. So there's that. Uh, I went after games that were available to purchase and that came out right at the time of Essen. So if it came out early in the year, if it came around Gen Con time, if it came out in September, which is arguably close enough, I tried not to include those. I don't think I have any in there. And then I also went after games that have an English version because this is something that I would buy. Um, I've gotten like German only games in the past, and in 2023, I don't know if I really want to deal with having to do card translations, because I've
Right.
done that in the past where I'll buy a German game with German cards, and then you
Ugh.
go to Board Game Geek and you can print out translations. Then you sleeve the card, and then you put the translation, like you have a little cutout piece of the
Right.
translation, and you just tuck it in the sleeve. It's a little harder when you're dealing with boards, right? If there's printing on there. But luckily most games they tend to be internationally focused, right? Where they'll use symbols and various things and not have as much printing on them. At least, um, you know, printing that's important to the game. Some do, and they're a huge pain in the butt to translate. But yeah,
Yeah.
2023, don't want to mess with that. And there was something else. What was it? Yeah, so it's available to purchase. It's not like a demo thing, coming out in the next year or two. Um, yeah, I think that was most of it. So, um, yeah, I went through the BGG list, and it was pretty darn big. It was over 1,200 releases, which is
Wow.
way more than Gen Con. I mean, wasn't Gen Con like 600 this year? Somewhere around there. I think it was under
I
700.
I think so, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that sounds about right.
Yeah, so it was 1,200. Granted, oh, and the other thing is I didn't want just an expansion. So if it was an expansion for a pre-existing game, I just excluded it because I wanted like, you know, an actual standalone game. If it was a sequel, that's fine. So if it's like, I don't know, Castles of Burgundy 2, that would have that would have worked. But yeah, so I went through the list, 1,200. So a couple of notable things that really interested me is like there was nothing there from Queen Games, which I really expected. I mean, Queen Games is a big name, and I don't know if they didn't have a presence there this year, if they didn't come out with anything, or if just that they were left out. But yeah, but nothing from Queen because I usually look at their stuff because I tend to enjoy their games. But yeah, so I'll call out some of the notable stuff that I really like, and if I was there, I would definitely pick up a copy. So in no particular order, potentially maybe alphabetical. I'm not sure. Depends on how I open these up. The first one is a game called FTW. So I guess that
For the
stands
for
for
the win?
for the win. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a card game for 2 to 6 players from Freedom on Freeze, which is probably I think the only designer of 2F Spiel. So interesting thing about his games, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. So he did Power Grid, which I know you've played,
Yep.
and so his games are all they always start with an F because his name, Freedom Unfreeze, right? And all of the games are predominantly green, like forever. So art style, everything is green. If you look at like any of his games, like I said, the box fully green. And now I know that Power Grid starts with a P, but in German it starts with an F, I believe. So maybe that's the exception. But yeah, so it's a cool little card game. I tend to like his card games. He's had a couple of them. Like there's a really interesting one that I'm really not good at called Friday. That's been around forever. It's a solo game, but yeah, the quick description according to the BGG is in each round of FTW, you play your cards so you can preferably keep only one card with a high number. It's possible for you to get rid of fewer cards than it is possible that you get rid of fewer cards than other players as soon as the player with only one card in their hand. Wait, as soon I can't hardly read this. I don't know if this is just a poor translation or I'm just having a hard time today. As soon as a player that has only one card left in their hand, yeah, I guess the translation, you score plus points for your highest cards, but minus for additional cards. So it's just a cool little card game with funky little rules and a light game. Play it in like probably less than a half hour. So that's one definitely that I would have gotten. Another game that looked interesting to me was the Rats of Wistar. Now, I think that this one came out in Gen Con, but vaguely, I want to say it might not have. So it might have violated my rule, but I couldn't find a release date if it was earlier than Gen Con or not. So I included it anyway. And so this is you play as a bunch of rats um, that organized the rat escape from the Wistar Institute. And it just looks interesting. It's a Cranio Creations game. And it just looks like a lot of fun to me. Next up is the Cathedral of Orleans. So this is, another in the Orleans or Orleans, as people like to say. It's another in that line of games, which, holy moly, how many are in there now? So there's Orleans, like the original. There's a couple expansions for it. I want to say Joan of Arc is also set in that universe. Um, Let me see if I can find that real quick. Yeah, Joan of Arc, which is the Orleans draw and write. The original, there's a whole bunch of expansions. We'll skip all the expansions, including like Invasion, bunch of promos.
I got a bunch of
And then,
promos for my copy of Orleans.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I can't find it. But anyway, um, yeah. So it's the Cathedral of Orleans, and basically, let's build the Cathedral of Orleans together. This is like the slogan or motto. Um, so playing along. So it's a co-op game, and goes along the Orleans um, like family of knights, craftsmen, scholars, traders, monks, and it's a press against time to build it, and it looks really interesting. And the artist is Clemens Franz. He's one of my favorite artists. I love there's like that look of those Euro games that a couple of artists just have down. It looks enjoyable. If a couple of these artists do the art, it just heightens my enjoyability of the game. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm brainwashed or whatnot. But Cathedral of Orleans definitely looks interesting to me, and it's also one when it comes stateside I will definitely get. Next up is Planta Nubo. So this is the one of the latest games. It's a collaboration, I guess maybe is the right way to put it, between a bunch of different designers, including Uwe Rosenberg. Let's see who else in here. Andreas Odendahl, which, wait, was he? No. Yeah, so he is known as Ode, like ODE on some games. So he did it, and then Michael Keller. So the three of them got together. Michael Keller worked on La Granja, Solarius Mission, and now Planta Nubo with these three guys, or with these two other guys. So this, there's a lot of games, not all, but there's a lot of games, especially when it has a certain publisher on it. I am definitely interested in it, and Uwe Rosenberg is definitely one of them. Ode as well, and I'm excited to check this one out. The um, basically what you're doing is you're growing energy-rich flowers and plants in cloudy gardens. How about that?
See, this,
Yeah, I
this
know.
is one of those things. It's like I read these and it's
I know.
like none of this sounds very enticing at all.
Yeah.
But yet they can be like that. They can. That's the
Oh,
thing that
heck
I've
yeah.
learned is, so many games I've like, boy, this sounds terrible, but then it's a great game.
Hmm.
So
And when you look at the board, it's like with the artistry on it, you can't really tell sometimes, but it's a dual layer board, which is another thing that I love lately. Just
yeah.
having a dual layer board where your pieces like fit into the spots, love that. The game definitely gets some points for that. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Next up is Port Royal, the dice game. Port Royal is a really great card game. Came out a couple years ago. It's a press your luck game where you keep drawing cards from this huge stack of cards, trying not to bust. And you bust by having multiples of the same kind of card out there. So it's like you want to draw a certain amount to expose more cards, to give you more options, but you don't want to lose your turn. And um, if you're going to be getting Port Royal, I recommend the big box, which comes with a bunch of expansions. It's the only way to get the game. And it's not really a big box, thankfully. So it's a big box about the size of most regular board games. But Royal, the dice game, is a 2 to 5 player game, and heck, it's a dice game. So you get to roll dice and you know do your press your luck, and it does have pads, so it's like roll and write, sort of. I guess maybe is a good way to phrase it. But yeah, the description on it is on the various islands through the Caribbean Sea, you can hire crew members and loot some treasures along the way. Put your luck to the test against the dice. The more you risk, the more you can cross off the game map. Roll the dice, but avoid a second ship of a color. Hire people for their abilities and victory points. Be the first to score 20, or try your luck in a round of sudden death. So definitely getting this one, 100%. This is an insta buy for me. Next up is a game called Imperial Miners from Portal Games. They came out with um, Imperial Settlers a number of years ago, and I think Imperial Settlers is based off of another one of their games called 51st State. It's like a toned down version of that. So 51st State, great game, love it. It's an old school, really fun game with multiple um, with things that do multiple things, like a card. And I'm just giving an example here, not example from the game necessarily, but where a card can be, let's say, like ammo, and it can be money, and it can be a power up depending on how you deploy it. But yeah, Imperial Miners is it's an engine building game along the lines of Imperial Settlers, um, and has a pretty cool card activation system. So it's a standalone game. It's not tied to Imperial Settlers, but it's set in that genre, universe, whatever you want to call it. And I'm definitely interested in checking this one out because I definitely enjoy the other games, especially 51st State, if I haven't said that enough times. The only thing, and this is just a minor little gripe about Portal Games, is they seem to come out with 2.0 versions of their games, which annoys me immensely because I have I'm always tempted to buy the new version. But anyway, hopefully they won't come out with an Imperial Miners 2.0 release with addendum and changed rules, because maybe they should have had it that way in the first place. I don't know. But yeah, so Imperial Miners definitely looks cool. 1 to 5 players, and designed by Tim Armstrong. And I had one more. Where did it go? It was oh man, it was the game by. Actually, let me see if I can sort my list. It was the game by CGE with the really funky pronunciation of its name. Okay, come on. Let me do.
Don't you hate that when you're trying to you want it, you know what you're looking for, and it just evades you?
Yeah, that's what happens to me a lot. Here it is. It's it's Kutna Ora, the city of silver.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, it's like you're like, dude, I love that name. It makes me want to play it immediately. But I really like CGE. They come, which is what I believe it stands for, like Czech Games Edition. Um, so this is the game at Essen that it was funny on their YouTube channel. They were going around asking people to try to pronounce the name. Actually, that might have been at maybe that was at Gen Con as well. But anyway, they did it somewhere, and people were really struggling. But yeah, the gist of this one is it's a historical city building Euro game for 2 to 4 that features a real life supply and demand experience where every action that you take has an impact on the game's dynamic economic system. So city building, economy, economics built into it, and it's also got those amazing dual layer boards, which I'm a sucker for.
Yes.
Yeah, but although I can still somehow find the skill to bump the table or bump the board to knock everything off of it, even if it has the dual layer component to it. I'm just that good. But yeah, I think that's all of it. Um, Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I just wanted to cover those. When those hit stateside, they are pretty much insta buy for me. Pretty much all of those. And yeah, any thoughts on Essen? Have you watched anything at all about any of the games that got released?
No, I actually didn't. I did watch a couple videos from the Dice Tower where they were doing like their daily
Oh, vlog.
vlogs
And
and stuff
yeah.
like that, and it was interesting to see all the stuff there. And um, the one thing I thought of, and maybe it's because they were filming at different times or before everything opened up, it didn't look as packed as Gen Con.
Hmm.
What it looked like, oh man, they got a lot of space. It just to me looked like there was so much more space, and it didn't seem as packed, but I'm sure it was. I know they probably get more people than
Yeah,
I know
a
they
lot more.
track. Well, I know they track it differently.
Yeah, they do. I think
They
they
do,
track turnstile.
yes, where Gen Con tracks ticket sales.
Hmm.
So that's more of a true. So if you had, if Gen Con did Turnstile and, basically you and I, that would have been, instead of just two people, it would have been eight because we had 4-day passes.
Yeah.
So but, um, no, I watched a little bit, but because I felt like a lot of the stuff was in, you know, German and different languages, it just, I don't know, it just didn't appeal. I didn't have too much interest in looking at a ton of the stuff from there.
Hmm.
So maybe that's my snobbish American attitude. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I just pulled it up. They released attendance, and their attendance was 193,000 visitors.
Yeah, but that's not how many people actually were there, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that is, like I said, turnstile attendance.
So, but it didn't look as I mean, it was busy,
Hmm.
but geez, we could barely walk through Gen Con, you know, at times, and it was just like it felt like there was a lot more open space. And maybe they did. Maybe they had a lot. Maybe it's a much bigger
It
convention
is
center, and
bigger. Yeah, it is
so
bigger from what I've heard.
so. But it was man. You'd have to do all 4 days. You'd have to do all of it there. And again, you probably still wouldn't see everything like we didn't see. I didn't even see hardly any of it. It's there were so many things I didn't get to do.
Yeah.
That Essen must just be incredibly, just insane, of how much there is to do there. So
Yep. Oh, heck yeah. And the big difference too is that whenever it is that they close, I think it's like 5 o'clock, somewhere around there. It's over. It's not like Gen Con where you have stuff going. Like you have tournaments going on at 11 o'clock at night, like Magic tournaments and Pokemon and stuff. Yeah,
right,
it's
yeah,
it's
we were there
basically
like
done.
yeah, I mean we were there what 12, 14 hours a day. I mean
Yeah.
because even when it was done, it was still so much was still open and people were
Hmm.
playing, and yeah, we'd sit there and play. I really liked that. I don't know if I like that everyone's got to go between in this 8 to 10 hour time frame and then it's out. You're done.
Hmm.
I thought
Yeah.
it was really cool that when it was over, we could still sit there and you're still play the games you bought, and they had all the space for that, and it was just I don't know. You're still there
Yeah.
in that area, and still it's just yeah, it was I really like the setup for Gen Con. So but
Hmm.
Essen would be something pretty spectacular to be able to experience, I think.
Yeah. No, I would like that
So
too. Maybe one of these years we can have a, this board game life Essen trip.
there you go.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, it was actually the 5th through the 8th. So that was almost 2 weeks ago. It was two weeks ago this weekend.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the other thing I wanted to talk about is this is something that has been getting kind of a little bit of discussion lately, and I don't know, I don't think we've talked about it, and I just want to get your opinions on it because I've got mine, and that's a hot topic in board games has been AI generated art in board games. So, in case you're unaware, AI is a thing lately, right? With Chat
Artificial
GPT,
intelligence.
yeah, with Chat GPT and a whole bunch of other platforms coming out there where, you know, they're able to, you know, answer questions that you ask of them. Um, Basically, they're like a really great Google search, context aware, or they can generate all sorts of stuff for you, um, with artwork just being one of them. So, for example, you can, you know, tell it like, draw me a picture of a dragon with the this board game life logo on its chest, and it's flying through the air with gold coins falling underneath it. I don't know, just something random, and it'll do it. Doesn't mean that it's a good picture. Doesn't mean it's even close to what you asked, but you will get a couple of pictures generated. So the big topic with this now is that a lot of people think that it's like poor form to have AI generated art within board games. So at that high level, and I'll go into some more detail with just me saying that at a high level, what do you think? Do you care? Does it matter to you at all? Like if it's drawn by a person or if it's computer generated, is it cheapening out? What do you think? And I know I haven't given you a whole lot of time to think about it, but I'm just curious.
So I I think my initial thought is, but well, I think initially I'd be like, what's it matter? Like, you know, as long as the artwork looks good, what's it matter? But AI generated art does not always look very good. Um, and the thing is I think I'd be okay with it if it didn't like if it looked good and like how would we know the difference? Like at the end of
Sure.
the day, when you get the game, you got the artwork on it. I personally I don't think of like, I wonder who designed this or who drew this or who did this artwork. I just don't for me, I don't look at it that way. Like you like some artwork and some artists that really make the game more enjoyable for you, and that's important. So my initial thought for me is I don't care, but if I go just think about it beyond my initial reaction, I've seen some pretty poor AI art, and I wouldn't want that into the games.
Hmm.
I like the quality of a lot of the games that the artwork has. Secondly, is the game going to be cheaper because they're not paying an artist? No, they're going to pocket that extra money. And then it's like, well, now you're not giving me the value of my dollar and you're cheapening out and you're giving me just auto generated artwork. Like, I don't know. I don't like that idea. I don't think it just doesn't appeal to me. So I would have to say, i- again, not having time to think about it.
Hmm.
You threw me in front of the bus.
Yeah, I know.
I would say I would be more against it just simply for the fact that I know that these games are so expensive. Um, I went in on a my final Kickstarter of the year. At least it's what's
Oh,
planned. But
really?
no, this was the one I said today it was going to go
Yeah,
live. So as the first
yeah.
thing I did this morning was got up and got on and it's the most expensive game I've ever bought. And and I was like, woof, like when I saw what it was going to be, but I said it's Dice Throne. I'm going all in. So, um, but like I love the Dice Throne artwork. Like that's one that's just like, and the quality of it and everything that goes into those games is great. And at the price that we're paying for these things, I think they should pay an artist to give us a accurate, professionally done um, interpretation of what the game designer is looking for, and not just some computer generated thing.
Hmm.
But again, it depends on the game. I think it would really depend. If you're doing like a mass market, like something like I suppose like I don't know, a cheaper game, mass market type of thing, it probably doesn't really matter. Um, but something that is, I don't know, I think if you getting $40 and above, I think you should have an artist do your work.
Okay.
Just it's just kind of I guess that's where I'm kind of at with it.
Hmm. And what's interesting is that with what's been going, oh, actually, let me preface this a little bit. So this really kind of became a hot topic recently with one of the recent Kickstarters from Stronghold Games. It's the one of the Terraforming Mars ones. It was like more terraforming Mars or something like that. It just happened this summer. I think you and I talked about it briefly because I think we said we weren't going to back anything on it just because we had enough of that, enough of that stuff. But anyway, um, they admitted to using AI generated art uh, in their campaign and in their games. And I've heard some stuff discussed about this where, just with the amount of unique cards in there, they leveraged AI art versus, like if you have, it's okay, it's one thing if you have like five different cards, right? That's less art to generate, pay an artist to do it. But if you have, let's say, like 300 unique cards as part of the game, that's a substantial cost to pay artists to do 300 cards, let alone the amount of time that it might take them. And you'd have to leverage multiple artists. Who knows what it'll do to the cost of the game? But um, they admitted to using AI generated art, and people were like, the internet was aflame
Yeah.
with discussion. And I'm kind of wondering about it from the standpoint of how different is AI than any other tool out there? Because we have, like, for example, like if you use an art program, Photoshop, whatever, image manipulation, and you can use a blend tool or you can use a stamp. And I know I'm doing like the old school names. There's probably like much better versions of this stuff, but it's like you fuzz out a certain area. You're using a tool to manipulate a region of a photo or art or something like that to change it. You're not manipulating the pixels individually like with a pen. So you're using a tool, and AI could arguably be a tool. And I could see it working from the standpoint of, you have AI generated art to come up with some like offlandish, unique ideas. And what's wrong with an artist then taking that and giving it the human spin? For example, just using it as a base and then you know, they draw on top of it and maybe change a certain percentage of it, 20, 30, 80%, whatever it is. And now you have a unique thing. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, it doesn't necessarily mean that every piece of art is 100%. generated by AI. It could be just
Right.
used as a base or a portion of it, or it's like, give me a unique monster with, three eyeballs you know, and it's green, or and it'll just come up with something unique and interesting. And we know, like I've played around with the art stuff, and they come up with like you look at some of the stuff, and it's like, okay, it drew a picture of a person. Their cheek is sunken in, and they have 18 fingers on one hand. how does how does it draw 18 fingers? I have no idea. But yeah, it's become a big thing where uh, the Kickstarter, and there was another. I don't know if it was Indiegogo or one of the other platforms. I'll have to look it up. I'll see if I can do it here in a second. But the platforms actually make it so that now, for example, Kickstarter, in order to allow a project to have a campaign, they have to disclose how they used AI in that creation of that project. So, for example, I'm looking at their policy right now on Kickstarter. To be allowed on Kickstarter, projects utilizing AI tools for generation of art, images, text, or any other output must disclose relevant details on their project page. Any thoughts about that? Do you think that that's like, I mean, do they really have to disclose it? I mean, why? It's like, do they need to say that, like, oh, we used the blur tool on the front cover as well?
Um,
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
it it's almost like it's going too far.
yeah,
Like, um, people didn't like that AI generated this, and this they think it's a big deal. I mean, does it really matter? Like, if people didn't know, if they didn't state that, would anyone even know? Would they care?
yeah,
I mean, it's the way things are going, anyways. It just would be nice to see these things get cheaper, and I think that to state everything. I mean, computers are used in everything. All
yeah,
this stuff that we get is designed, and a lot of stuff's generated this way. And um, I don't know. I think it's again like kind of like with a lot of regulations, you can just go overboard, and it's pointless. But I don't. Seems dumb to me.
yeah. So BackerKit is the other one. BackerKit announced, or I believe it was earlier this month, that they have a new policy now that projects with, and now they caveat it with solely AI generated content will not be allowed. So if you have AI generated art on there and it's exclusively, I guess, not human manipulated afterwards, um, you can't put your stuff up on BackerKit.
Yeah, AI really gets into some weird areas
Hmm.
in all sorts of um, areas of you know just AI is everywhere. And I think one of the things is with AI is it's taking, I think my understanding too is it's taking stuff like there's a bajillion, quadrillion photos, right? And images out on the internet, right? Google's been gathering all our stuff forever. So when you're doing it and you say, give me a picture of this and that you're describing things, it's basically taking things that are out there and just kind of meshing them together. So you could be grabbing someone else's actually artwork that they have done, and then they're not getting credit for it. I can
Right.
see that being a good reason to not allow it, because it's not. I don't believe it's not truly. I don't think it's truly generated. Not like the computer's like, okay, let me think. Let me draw a landscape here. Let me do this. It's just taking stuff that's already existing, is my understanding.
Right.
And that would suck to be able to steal someone else's images and put them into something that they didn't get paid for, and then that opens themselves up to lawsuits later too. Like, and that's probably what a lot of this is places like BackerKit and Kickstarter and GameFound and stuff. They don't want to be sued if someone's using AI
Hmm.
and basically stealing someone else's work.
Right. So you bring up a really good point, which I was going to bring up myself here, and that's like BackerKit mentions that their new policy of restricting that of AI generated stuff is it aims to address growing concerns regarding ownership of content, ethical sourcing of data, and compensation for the process of creating content. Because I mean, I don't fully know how the AI stuff works, like what Dolly or any of those, but you know, they when they I doubt that it draws everything from scratch. It probably pulls information like it sources like pictures, let's say of bicycles, right? It's fed hundreds of pictures of bicycles. Something tells it like this is a bicycle, this is a bicycle, this is a bicycle. And then when it's asked to draw a bicycle, it uses that information, which could potentially be somebody's photograph, right? That they, let's say, did not put into the public domain. Um, and that's used, within a an AI generated image. And then, like, let's say you took a picture of a bicycle and you posted it, and then 2 years later, you see a game that has your bicycle, your bicycle on it because
Yeah.
because the AI decided to use your photo as the source for an image. But yeah, it's like, and plus, who does own that photo? Does that it's if like let's say I'll use the easy one. If Chat GPT generates an image, who owns it? Does
Good
OpenAI
question.
own it? Is does nobody own it because it's just generated on the fly? It's unique, never to be seen again. I don't know. And and they mention also as part of it, they define AI generated content as content that lacks a minimum requirement of human input. And there is some wiggle room with AI generative fill and transcription services. So it seems to be just, I guess, in the spirit of the platform of crowdsourcing people's works, they want it to be genuinely made by somebody, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Or by the people that
Well,
are at least doing
I
the
I
project.
think that's the nature of it's. It fits with the nature of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Some people are creating things. Well, create it. Don't have a computer do it for you and then cash in on
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. Or just do your own art using clip art that you found in the public domain. What fun is that? But but yeah. So the AI thing, it's definitely going to be probably more of a discussion point because right now it's just being used for art. Potentially, it's in at least one project. I'm sure it's probably in more. We just don't know about it. Maybe they haven't shared that it was actually AI generated stuff, but maybe before too long, we're going to have an AI generated board game. You know, somebody's tried it already, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't mean that it's a good game because I know it's like I've heard people like do recipes, right? It's like give me a
Uh-huh.
recipe for making, Parmesan chicken. Who knows what you're going to get? And that might not be good or something like that. But if it can do recipes and if it can write poems and term papers, I'm sure it can be used in the board game space.
Papers have been, yes, term
Yeah.
papers and stuff like that have been that's a big thing for the schools.
Hmm.
I've talked to my youngest son's teachers about it. I had asked them a question about how they combat that, and they see it all the
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, I guess that's kind of the bad thing about AI. It's taking away the thought, like someone's passion. It's people are just no one's learning anymore. You know, so
Yeah. It could potentially remove like the artisan element
yeah,
of a lot of different disciplines. But we'll see.
it's true. Yeah,
This is not the last of AI in board games
no,
by any stretch, and it'll be interesting maybe to like revisit it in like a year if we remember and see kind of like where did things go since October 23? Where do things stand in October 2024? So anyway,
I bet
that's that.
it'll be
Yeah.
a positive take if we discuss this again next year because it'll be AI doing our show.
Yeah, exactly. It's like give us topics for this week's episode. No towels or appliances allowed.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, that's all I had. Did you have anything you want to mention for the show or discuss?
No, I don't think so today.
Okay.
Just I did spend a lot of money today on the Dice Throne X-Men
Oh boy, I was looking at
Kickstarter.
that. I was looking at that. That looks so good. That's
It
so
is
much
good.
stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. I didn't have to do what I did though. I did like the everything of the X-Men. Like I'm getting everything, but I already have the what do you call it? I already have Marvel's Dice Throne. So I didn't have to get that one that included that. So,
Hmm.
but I think my whole total was still like $450. Yeah.
Shazam!
Yeah. I was really like, okay, that was more than I expected. Um, because it's including like they basically have the you got the full battle chest, you know, with the 8 X-Men characters. Then you've got a ninth character of
Which
Deadpool.
which is what? Psylocke, Iceman, Rogue, Cyclops, Wolverine, Jen Grey, Storm, and Gambit.
Yeah. And then you've got the miniatures. Okay, which you can also
They
use
look
those
painted.
miniatures.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're
they
painted.
are. Yep. And because I've got the miniatures from the first 2 games. Um, and these miniatures also give you're also getting the miniatures from the Marvel game, which I didn't have the Marvels for the Dice Throne Marvel. So you get like little. I had like little standees to use with the campaign, the Dice Throne Adventures. So you can use these characters in the Dice Throne Adventures. But now this one also came out with like dice thing called Dice Throne Missions, which is like kind of like that campaign, but it's different. It's in the, I guess it's in the Marvel world. So you can use these
Yeah.
miniatures in that as well as the other. So, but I also got their pre-painted sculpts. I've got them one for all eight. Well, it's what, eight for the X-Men, then eight for the original game, which I don't have.
Mhm.
I'm getting all the acrylic tokens upgraded. I'm getting card sleeves. I did not do dice trays or the mats because you can get all kinds of mats. But I'm also getting, and then I'm getting all that with Deadpool, the Deadpool expansion, the Deadpool character, the miniature, and there's a whole bunch of promo packs. And I went with the all the new things bundle, which is $449.
Mhm. Oh yeah, all the
But
new things. Yeah.
oh, and that one actually did come with a dice tray. That one does have a dice tray in it. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's what, 617 miniatures, the acrylics, all like the yeah, the missions, the expansion, that dice throne missions, which is like the campaign thing. So and all of this too. What's really cool about dice throne is all of this is interchangeable. Like you can use these characters and play with the other versions of the game. Like that's what's kind of cool is it all mixes together.
Yeah.
So
So 17 minis. I just counted them.
yeah.
And this is funny. So games included Deadpool Hero Box, ages 14 plus. Everything else is fine. Deadpool,
Yep.
14 plus.
Yeah. Well, Deadpool.
Yeah.
So but it's not the most
That's
expensive set. So if you didn't have the
yeah. Oh
Marvel
jeez.
Dice
Yeah.
Throne, then you can get that limited edition battle chest as well with the all in, and that's $600.
And 126 people jumped on that one.
Yeah, see, I already had that Marvel. I already have that battle chest anyways. So
Right. Wow, 973 people went in on your pledge level.
yeah.
And this is early, right? This is
It started today.
yeah, this is day
Yeah.
not even 24
This
hours
is
in.
correct. Less than
Eh,
24 hours.
20 days to go. Holy smokes. So their goal was 100K and they're at 1.5 million already.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a popular game.
Yes, absolutely. With good reason,
so
since I
so
know you like it so much. Yeah.
yes, and I gotta ask. I won't ask you about this one, but what was your decision on Deep Rock? Because that one is closed.
I did not get it.
but are
I
you gonna
was
get? You gonna look at getting the base game?
no, I was looking at that too. I did not get that either.
Because you can get it for like $70
Yeah.
from their website. You can buy the game, which is a lot more. I'm assuming it doesn't have. So they've got the first edition. So it's not the big box. I think all the miniatures are gone. So if you don't want all the miniatures, you can get the game for $76. And it's like a normal let's see, what's it come with? Once threat mark, 40 campaign damage. Let's see. Double layer character words. Three special standees, four unique dwarf miniatures, 30. Oh yeah, the 38 glyphid standees. So you're getting standees instead of the miniatures. So you can still get the game for $76 right from
Hmm.
moodpublishing.com if you're interested. But if you want the one that I got with the stuff, it's 141
Yeah.
and still get the base game with the miniatures.
I
So
was really tempted and I'm like, I would love to have it. I just don't know if I can get it. to the table as much as I would want to.
Right.
So I'm just being a
Well,
little
that's
selective because of that. And I mean, I
it's rock and stone,
I
man.
know, I know.
So what's $76? You can get the cheap version, and
Yeah.
it's still got the dual layered player boards and everything. It's just like it gets rid of you get your minis, the miniatures, you get 4 minis, the dwarves are miniatured, but everything else is um standees. So
So you know what'll probably happen is that if I ever see it at my local game store that I go to, I'll probably snag it. It'll be an absolute impulse.
yeah.
It's like it's in my hands. I can walk out with it right now, sold, versus dropping a bunch of money and getting it in a couple weeks, a week or whatever, or a year if it's the new one. I don't know. I mean, I had the same thing with the same issue with Castle Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
That is, it's one of my favorite games. I love that whole series, and I'd love to have the board game. It's just not a practical purchase for me.
No, I understand.
Yeah, and I love Deep Rock, so not getting it, especially after hearing how much you like it, is that took a lot of willpower.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I don't have the shelf space for it, let alone floor space.
This thing gets its own shelf. All
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Everything else can go to the floor.
Yeah.
you treat
Absolutely.
this with respect, my friend.
Hmm. Is the box fairly big? I mean, it's smaller than Castles of Burgundy, right? Special
uh,
edition or close?
it's well, it's 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 a square box, but it's probably just as I think it's deeper.
Okay.
Might be a little deeper, but it's squared instead of rectangle.
Yeah, I gotcha. So yeah, I'm sure it's going to be an impulse buy if I see it and I have it in my hands, especially if it's 30% off. Sold. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
No worries.
So
Sit on it for a month. Wait till Black Friday. Maybe the
there you
game
go.
stores will have a deal or something.
Or it'll be on clearance somewhere like Miniature Market or something. Not that I go on there regularly to know. We shall see, my friend.
Ugh.
All right. So anything else to add?
Nope.
Nope. All right. So let's call it right here. Episode number 58 comes to a close. I am Rob. Thanks for listening, everybody. Catch you all in 2 weeks.
All right, and I'm Mark. I will see you at the table.